Hello, welcome to the Crates Motel. My name's Conan. Obviously today we are in a different location. That's me looking around different location. This is the Crates Motel front room. This is the big chair that I share with my wife and my pets. I apologise in advance if you do see some wildlife running around. Django is sat down here just to my right, and Bodhisattva, our Persian cat, is wandering around, and he tends to just attack anything that looks like a tail. So there's obviously cables everywhere which you can't see because they're out of shot. I'm going to be starting a series of videos called Beats from the Big Chair. Obviously, it's inspired by Songs from the Big Chair by Tears for Fears, one of my favourite albums actually. I just want to make some beat making videos. I wanted to get out of the studio. I want to give my Live 2 some love, which I'll be using today. And I just thought it might be fun. Obviously, a lot of the time my videos are quite focused on mixing, mastering, tips and tricks. But I don't really make many videos of me just making some beats and less talking, etc. And I do get quite a lot of requests from people saying, can you just make some house beats, some hip hop beats, boom bap, lo-fi, that kind of stuff. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing in Beats from the Big Chair. Let's jump in. So as I said, I'm on my Live 2. I felt like making some deep house today, so I've loaded up a deep house kit. This, as you can see, has been named properly, and I stress, do this right from the very beginning. Use a QWERTY keyboard, just makes things easier. And the more organized you keep things, right from the start, the more organized you're going to be at the end. Because if you're just copying tracks, then you're just going to get in an absolute mess. So right from the very, very start of me using MPCs, which seems like a million years ago now. It's actually 35 years ago. I might make a little video about that actually, about the fact that I've been using MPCs for 35 years, and maybe tell some war stories, some old MPC stories. Lost my train of thought. Keep everything organized. That's what I was trying to say. I'm just a firm believer in a tidy workplace just helps in your workflow. But that's not to say that, I mean, I've seen some videos of people like Madlib and Dilla and Damu the Fudge Monk, and their studios are sometimes an absolute mess. So they make dope beats, and I love the music that they make. So being clean and tidy doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make nice and clean and tidy beats, but for me it helps because I just don't like to be around chaos and mess when I'm being creative, I guess. So Live 2, let's make some deep house. Let's go to 124, and you see, look, straight away I've not named this what it should be named. This is going to be my kick track. Let's call it Kick. Why not? Makes things easier. Kind of like that. That's kind of good. One thing I want to say is with the new MPC 3, actually let's just turn that off completely. Remember to have this record arm on, because quite a few times, especially, I mean, with my template, the way it's set up, I don't have that on by default. And perhaps I should resave it with it on there by default. Sometimes I'll start recording and I'll finish recording, I'll come out and I'll realize, oh, where's it gone? And that would be because I hadn't armed record arm. So just remember to do that, because I'm just saying from my own experience, quite a few times I completely forget to arm it. It's a really, really handy thing. It's something that you have in all DAWs, or DAWs, as some people say. Do I say DAW or do I say DAW? I think I say DAW most of the time. Anyway, we have our kick. So let's just duplicate that. And we will call this hats. Again, with the keyboard. Just makes things a lot easier. I use QWERTY keyboards with everything. I use it with my S2400 as well, actually. Just makes things a lot easier. I can't be dealing with this punching thing. And a lot of the time, because I've got quite fat fingers, it writes things in wrong, and it just creates stress for me. I like stress-free and things being easier. QWERTY keyboards make things easier. Okay. Nice abrupt hat. That sounds like one of my old SP1200 samples. Sounds quite gritty. Just to let you know, I've got my swing set up at 61. 61, 63, I use a lot for house, actually quite a lot for boom bap as well, 65 sometimes for boom bap, but house music, I do particularly love 61 and 63, sometimes 57. If I'm doing jack in house, it needs to be a little bit tighter most of the time, so I'll use 57, but 61, I just love 61. 61's good for me. You might notice something I do as I'm making beats is I adjust the volume when I'm making the beats, because for a very, very long time now when I'm producing, because for a very long time, coming up to 40 years, when I tend to mix my own stuff, and I kind of always have done. So when I produce, I kind of mix as I'm producing. So it's just a habit that I've always done. You can always change things later on. It's not like it records the level in or anything. So, I mean, it used to actually, come to think of it, because we used to put it onto tape, so you had to be a little bit more careful. But nowadays, I've just continued to stay in the habit of just adjusting things as I go. And it just helps you get in a better position, because you can get more of a feel for it. If your hats are way too loud, that might affect the way that you actually write something. So, and same with your clapsy snares and the sample and everything. So I like to try and get everything in a decent place as I'm actually working. Works for me. So I'm kind of writing a top line at the moment. If you've watched my videos, my beat making videos, you will know that I don't ever sample top lines. There's nothing wrong with sampling top lines, I've just never done it. So I build my own top line really, and just to generate a bit of swing and a bit of movement in the beat. And I tend to do that with my hi-hats. Okay, so let's duplicate that again. And this will be my, I'm going to do a clap track actually. Don't forget to select it. Okay, don't forget to save. We've already got that sorted out, so we can just overwrite that, that's fine. Didn't have to go through that whole project as just then, by the way. I could have just saved project. One thing I do miss on the Live 2 is the ability to just shift save, which you can do on the MPC One. I think that's, for me, it's not a deal breaker, but it's one of the main reasons why I prefer the One over the Live 2, because just, you know, save, don't forget to save. You must always save. It's been ingrained into my head for so many years. Being able to just go shift save on the MPC One, you know, it's not too difficult to go like that, really, is it? But I do like the shift save. No, don't like that. I've got a feeling I've used that snare on a lot of tracks. It sounds really familiar. With the main hi-hat, I've got it sitting exactly where it should be. There's no swing on it, but because I've swung the top line around it, it's giving that kind of groove. You know, the little ghost hi-hats that I've got in there. And the way that the snares are swung against it as well. Theoretically, the main hat and the main kick are not actually swung. They're sitting exactly on the grid. It's what you place around what you've got on the grid. It's how the swing ratio that you have to that, how they relate to each other is what gives you the swing and is what gives you that head nodding kind of groove that you want. Okay, so let's just go into mix, and if we go to the main output actually, and let's do a little bit of work in here. As you see, I have it already set up. Compressor, power EQ, flavor, and MPC 60. Let's put that on straight away actually. Gives it a really nice little bit of low end. It doesn't really make it sound like an MPC 60, but it gives it a nice bit of low end. I don't care. For me, it's a little preset called MPC 60, which gives it a nice bit of low end. If you want to obsess about whether it sounds like an MPC 60 or not, buy an MPC 60. Sorry to be blunt, but you know, that's how I think of it. Just literally want a bit of a tickle on there, just to kind of bring things, everything together. Don't need to put any EQ or flavour or anything on that yet. I've added the little bit of low end MPC 60, so that's absolutely fine. That sounds okay to me. You'll see I've got everything set up to -6 on here as well. That's how I have my template set up. That just really helps in gain staging. With gain staging, I know there's a lot of, gain staging is kind of one of those phrases, put it in that because it's just one of those phrases that people throw around quite a lot. And I think they put a lot of stress on gain staging. I've literally heard people say, if you don't gain stage properly, your mix is not going to work. That is just utterly mentally utter bullshit, frankly. Gain staging is kind of still important, but it's a hangover from the tape days. Gain staging is not as important as it used to be, just with digital audio and the fact that, you know, with the high res, the bit rate that we're working with in digital audio, and the fact that basically all you really need to do in gain staging nowadays is just make sure that you don't clip, because digital clipping is not very nice. So without going into too much detail, because I am going to be making a gain staging video, I know I keep promising, I just haven't got around to it. The reason why I haven't got around to it is it's going to be I want it to be in depth. I don't want to say a definitive video on gain staging, because nobody can make a definitive video on anything as far as I'm concerned, but it's going to be a video that's going to be quite in depth, and I want it to cover as much of the issues that I hear people talk about and cover as much of the questions. And so it's going to be quite in depth. So it's going to take me quite a while to put that together. I have actually started kind of writing the bullet points for it, and I've got the ideas that I want. It's just literally doing the actual video. So where was I? Right, yeah, so -6 in my template just helps with the minimal amount of gain staging that you need to do. If you watch your levels as you're going through whilst you're producing, it's never going to build up to a level where you're clipping your main output anyway. So just a little bit of work as you progress, as you mix. If you want to mix the track as you produce, which I love doing, it's you know, having my template set up like that just really saves me a bit of trouble further down the line, basically, because I'm not going to be clipping my main out. My main out at the moment is probably, which I've also got down at -6. See, the benefit of that is I'm not going to be anywhere near 0. But later on, when I bounce it to reduce kind of any signal to noise ratio that you might have, I might take that up, and I can just push that up until it's getting close to 0. Put a limiter on there. Just see kind of where it is. Once the limiter starts doing a little bit of work, take it down a little bit, and then turn the limiter off when I bounce it. So that way it's going to be underneath 0, and I'm not going to clip. So you can see I've got everything set up to -6 in my template, to be honest. You can download my template. It's absolutely free. Just please download it. You can change however you want to change it. But I've got some just basic things set up in it. So let's get back to the beat. The beat's in a nice place as far as I'm concerned now, to be honest. Yeah, it's in a good place. Okay, so let's come out here. Yeah, I kind of like where that's at. So let's just save that. So you see, keeping things organized as well. I can now bounce individual tracks here easy enough. I can mix individual areas of the frequency range. I've got my low perk, I've got my high perk, and I've got my kicks. There is actually a snare on there now, so theoretically I should actually, to be organized, I should actually change that to clap snare. So I know that both are on there. It's fine to have them on the same track as each other, to be honest. They're both low perk. And the way that I tend to mix kick, low perk, high perk anyway. But, you know, by all means, if you want to put them on a different track. But as this is kind of in the flow, we'll keep it on the same track. Let's just leave it there. So it's kind of skippy. It's not UK garage, but it's kind of mid-90s feel to it. US house, garage, that kind of thing. It's got skippiness to it. So I'm thinking maybe I'll whack some chords in there perhaps. So let's go into here and we'll find my chords folder, which I'm sure is on here, but it might actually be on here. Yes, it is. So in here, I've just got folders and folders full of chords. Let's have a listen to, let's stick with deep house. I mean, there's going to be loads of really nice chords in there, but we could be looking for absolutely ages. So let's have a look at Rhodes. What have we got here? Let's have a listen to these. It's not really what I'm looking for, to be honest. Not really what I'm looking for in this track. I kind of want it a little bit more stabby. No, again, still not the right kind of thing. Let's have a look in here. Kind of like that. That's kind of nice. Yeah, okay. To remember that because it's going to be in a whole load of stuff. There we go, there it is, right at the end. Yeah, I'm kind of liking that. Let's just take that down a bit in the mix. If you've watched my template video, you'll know that in my template, I already have send 1 sent to reverb, and send 2 is sent to a delay. Just find that if you're writing and you've got that already set up, see how quickly I did that. I wanted a reverb on it. I wanted a bit of a delay on it. I don't have to mess around. I can, if I want later on, go into the actual, sorry, it's on the returns, isn't it? I can actually go in there and play around with the reverb and delay if I want, but I've got a standard delay and a standard reverb set up. So very, very quickly, I can get in the ballpark for how I want. Okay, yeah, I'm liking that. That sounds good. I'm really big on kind of mid-90s, early 90s US house and garage kind of stuff, which was very simple, very dubby, and quite often just had stabs in it, a bass line, maybe some pads in there, and then a little vocal. I literally could just make this kind of house all day long. Okay, so let's come out of there and we will go to my instruments. And I'm thinking that I might use my lately bass. I've got a couple of lately basses on here. That one's actually my original one off my TX. So let's, yeah, we'll use that one, I think. This will take a while to load because it's literally every key sampled in 3 different velocities. So it takes a while to load. So I'm keeping it in that whole early 90s, mid 90s vibe. Quite a simple bass line, using the lately bass. Love that bass sound. Again, I could make tracks with that bass sound all day long. Real kind of Kerry Chandler, early Def Mix. I mean, it's endless, the amount of tracks that have used that lately bass. I think where I'd probably take that now would be to put some vocals over the top of it, but it would be something that I would have to spend quite a lot of time doing. But this is, this is an insight into how I tend to write. With house music, a lot of the time I do make a beat first. I don't know whether it's because I started as a drummer as a kid, so I always think about beats first. It's just quite important. I mean, it does depend on the genre. With a lot of boom bap and lo-fi sample-based hip-hop and stuff that I make, I might start with a sample and then add the beat. There is no right or wrong. But a lot of the time with house music, I do write the beat first. And I know a ton of producers who do it the other way around. They'll write the song first, or they'll write the bass line first, or they'll write the harmonies and melodies first. But for me, with house, it's always been the beat. I'd say 95% of the time, maybe even more than 95% of the time. When I think of the tracks that I've released as Conan Liquid, as Liquid People, over the years, I think, that our biggest tracks, Love Is The Answer on Africanism, Monster on Defected, my stuff on Strictly Rhythm, definitely my stuff on Strictly Rhythm, I started with the drum beats every single time and built around those, because that for me is where the groove is. It's where it all starts for me personally. So that's why I've always written it like that. So that's a kind of insight into how I would write a deep house record, I guess, because I write the drum beat first, and I think some chords or some pads, or maybe a bass sound first, or maybe the vocal, but it does always start with the beat.